Imagine a world where every rustle in the grass, every shadow, meant life or death. A world where our ancestors, millions of years ago, faced challenges we can barely comprehend. Today, we talk about survival. Not a weekend camping trip, not even a natural disaster. We're talking about the raw, untamed existence of early humans. What did it truly take to live, to thrive, in a world that wanted you gone? We're going back, way back, to the very dawn of our species. Because understanding their fight isn't just a history lesson. It's a profound look into the spirit that forged us, the unwavering resilience etched into our very DNA. This isn't just about ancient history. It's about understanding the core of what it means to be human. Picture it. Millions of years ago, East Africa. Not the Africa you see on nature documentaries today, but something wilder, grander, and far more dangerous. You're small, upright, with a brain still developing, standing on an open savanna teeming with creatures built for hunting. Saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, massive crocodiles lurking in every watering hole. Every sunrise brought the same brutal truth: you were prey. The sun beat down relentlessly, storms erupted without warning, and the very ground beneath your feet was a stage for a perpetual struggle. Survival wasn't a choice. It was a daily, moment-to-moment battle. There was no grocery store, no doctor, no shelter designed by human hands. Just the vast, indifferent wilderness. How did they not just give up? How did a species so seemingly vulnerable make it? They did it with an instinct, a primal drive that refused to be extinguished. It was a courage born of necessity, a quiet defiance against overwhelming odds. This wasn't just living. It was a daily act of heroism. Imagine being confronted by a powerful predator or an animal too tough to break open for its vital nutrients. What do? Our ancestors, maybe 3 million years ago, looked at a simple rock and saw something more. They didn't just use a rock, they shaped it. They struck one stone against another, intentionally, purposefully, chipping away until they had a sharp edge. The Oldowan chopper was born, the very first recognized tool. It sounds simple, right? A rock. But this wasn't just a rock, it was the dawn of technology, the spark of human ingenuity. That sharp edge allowed them to process meat, to break open bones for nutrient-rich marrow, to strip bark, or to defend themselves with a cutting force previously unavailable. It opened up entirely new dietary possibilities, giving them an energy boost crucial for brain development. It wasn't about strength anymore, it was about smarts, about leverage, about manipulating the world around them. This tiny innovation wasn't just a physical change, it was a revolution in thinking, a fundamental shift in how they interacted with their environment. They weren't just surviving, they were beginning to master. Finding food wasn't a leisure activity, it was an all-consuming quest that dominated every waking hour. Think about it, no agriculture, no domestication of animals. Every calorie had to be found, identified, and secured from the wild. Our ancestors were master foragers. They understood the seasonal cycles of fruits, nuts, roots, and insects. They learned which plants were edible and which were poisonous, a knowledge passed down through generations by observation and painful trial and error. But relying solely on plants was tough. Early humans were also opportunistic scavengers. They'd follow the telltale signs of vultures circling, or listen for the roars of large predators, knowing that a fresh kill meant potential scraps for them once the big guys were done. It was risky business, approaching a carcass still guarded by a lion or hyena, but the reward, protein and fat, was worth the danger. Every bone broken, every fruit identified, every insect discovered contributed to the survival of the group. It was a constant, intelligent hunt for sustenance, demanding acute senses and an encyclopedic knowledge of their environment. They learned to read the landscape like a book, where every leaf, every footprint, held a clue to their next meal. Nightfall was a different kind of terror. Without light, without protection, You were a soft target in a world of sharp teeth and claws. Early humans didn't just wander, they actively sought out safety. Natural rock shelters, dense thickets, even high ground offering a vantage point, these became temporary homes. They weren't building elaborate structures, not yet. Their shelters were improvisations, strategic choices made with an acute awareness of the dangers around them. The landscape itself became their shield. Learning which trees offered refuge, which caves were dry and defensible, which riverbeds provided a temporary barrier. They understood terrain, elevation, and the habits of their predators. Sometimes the best shelter wasn't a place at all, but the tight, watchful circle of their own group, huddling together, listening, alert, sharing the burden of vigilance. It wasn't about luxury or comfort. It was about making it through to morning, about protecting the vulnerable, the young, the old, the injured. Every sunrise was a testament to their collective vigilance and cleverness in finding a safe haven, even if just for a single night. Then came fire. Not just fire, but controlled fire. For early Homo erectus, around 1.5 to 2 million years ago, learning to harness fire wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a fundamental shift that changed everything. Imagine the night, suddenly pushed back by a warm, dancing glow. Predators, often wary of fire, kept their distance. The fear of darkness, a primordial terror, was lessened. Fire offered warmth in cold nights, extending their habitable zones into colder climates. But the biggest impact? Cooking. Cooking meat, roots, and tough plant fibers made them easier to digest, unlocking far more nutrients and calories. This wasn't just about making food taste better, it was about fueling a rapidly growing brain. A cooked meal meant less chewing, less digestive effort, and more energy for thinking, for planning, for innovating. Fire also became a social hub, a place to gather, to share stories, even if just through gestures and sounds, to reinforce bonds. It was the first true home, a communal hearth that brought them together, making them stronger, smarter, and more unified. Fire didn't just warm their bodies, it ignited their future. Individually, an early human was vulnerable. Together, they were formidable. This is perhaps the most profound lesson from our ancient past, the absolute, non-negotiable power of community. Living in small, cooperative groups wasn't just a good idea, it was essential for survival. Imagine trying to fend off a lion, forage for enough food, or care for a sick member all on your own. It was impossible. Groups provided safety in numbers, shared hunting and gathering duties, and a collective memory of edible plants, dangerous animals, and safe routes. They developed early forms of communication, not just grunts, but perhaps gestures, facial expressions, and rudimentary language, passing on vital knowledge from one generation to the next. Caring for the injured, protecting the young, sharing resources, these acts of altruism weren't just nice, they were survival strategies. Empathy, cooperation, a sense of belonging, these weren't weaknesses, but the very strengths that allowed us to not just endure, but to ultimately thrive and conquer this planet. Our ancestors weren't just surviving as individuals. They were surviving as a family, as a tribe, as the nascent human race. So when we look back at the lives of early humans, millions of years ago, we see not just a struggle, but a triumph of spirit. They faced a world that was relentless, yet they adapted. They invented tools from simple stones, mastered fire, navigated perilous landscapes for food and shelter, and most importantly, they banded together. Their ingenuity, their courage, and their unwavering connection to one another transformed them from vulnerable prey into the architects of the future. What aspect of early human survival do you find most inspiring? Was it their resilience in the face of predators, their brilliant innovations, or the unbreakable bonds of their communities? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're as fascinated by our deep past as I am, hit that subscribe button for more journeys into the incredible story of humanity.